My daughter believed she married the perfect man. Charming, successful, respectful. But I saw something in his eyes the very first day. We shook hands. He wasn't looking at my daughter. He was looking at everything I owned. So I kept one secret from both of them. A warehouse in the middle of the city that nobody knew about. Inside was something worth far more than money. Years later, my phone rang. The warehouse manager was almost screaming. Sir, your son-in-law is here. He's brought bolt cutters. I didn't call the police. I didn't panic. Because I had been waiting for this exact moment. And what happened next destroyed every plan he had ever made. My name is Richard Bennett, and I spent over 40 years building my business. From nothing. Every dollar I earned came from 16-hour workdays, sleepless nights, and sacrifices most people would never understand. My wife, Margaret, stood beside me through every struggle, until cancer took her from this world. Before she passed away, she made me promise one thing. She asked me to protect our daughter, Emily, even from the people she loved if I ever believed they had bad intentions. At the time, I thought it was an impossible promise. Years later, I realized she knew something I didn't. Emily was kind-hearted, trusting, and believed everyone deserved a chance. She met Daniel at a charity gala. He knew exactly how to say the right things, how to make everyone laugh, and how to appear like the perfect gentleman. Everyone adored him after only one evening. Everyone except me. I noticed small things others ignored. Daniel always asked questions about property values, investment portfolios, business ownership, insurance policies, and inheritance laws. He disguised every question with a smile, but I knew the difference between curiosity and calculation. He never asked about family memories. He only asked about assets. I never confronted Emily because I knew love can make intelligent people blind. Instead, I quietly prepared for the future. Long before Margaret died, we had purchased an old warehouse in the city center. Officially, it was just another storage facility owned by one of my holding companies. Even Emily never knew what was inside. People assumed it held antiques or forgotten business records. They couldn't have been more wrong. Inside that warehouse were every handwritten journal Margaret ever kept, letters she wrote to Emily throughout her childhood, thousands of family photographs that had never been digitized, priceless. Historical documents collected over for decades. Original artwork commissioned by my wife. And the legal master files proving ownership of several companies. And intellectual properties worth millions. It wasn't just valuable, it was our family's history. The only key remained in my possession. After Emily married Daniel, something changed almost immediately. They visited less often unless money was somehow involved. Daniel repeatedly suggested that I simplify my estate planning because I was getting older. He even offered to introduce me to better attorneys. I smiled politely and refused every time. Then he began asking about properties that weren't listed publicly. One afternoon, while we were having coffee, he casually mentioned an old warehouse downtown. My heart skipped for only a second, but I never let it show. He said he had driven past it and wondered why I still owned such an outdated building. That told me everything. Someone had been investigating my assets. Months passed, and Daniel became increasingly impatient. Emily remained completely unaware of what was happening behind the scenes. I quietly instructed my attorney not to reveal anything about the warehouse under any circumstances. At the same time, I upgraded every security camera, alarm system, and access log inside the building. The warehouse manager, Frank, received one simple instruction. If Daniel ever appears here, don't stop him. Just call me immediately. Almost a year later, that phone call finally came. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was reading one of Margaret's old journals when my phone rang. Frank sounded terrified. Mr. Bennett, your son-in-law is outside. He's got two other men with him. They're carrying bolt cutters and heavy equipment. They say they're here to inspect family property. I looked at Margaret's photograph and smiled. The moment has finally arrived. Instead of rushing there, I calmly put on my jacket and drove across town. Every minute they spent outside the warehouse only created more evidence. By the time I arrived, Daniel had already cut through the outer security chain. The police had not yet been called because I wanted to hear exactly what excuse he planned to invent. When he saw me, he actually smiled. Oh, Richard. Good timing. We thought maybe this property had been abandoned. I asked one simple question. Then why bring bolt cutters? His face changed instantly. He claimed he believed the locks were damaged and wanted to help secure the property. It was one of the worst lies I had ever heard. I quietly pointed toward the security cameras. Everything you've done today has been recorded. For the first time, his confidence disappeared. Then he tried another strategy. He insisted that as Emily's husband, everything I owned would eventually become family property anyway. Therefore, entering the warehouse wasn't really trespassing. He had no idea how badly he misunderstood the law. At that exact moment, my attorney arrived carrying several sealed envelopes. Daniel looked confused. I handed him the first envelope. Inside was a formal notice explaining that every company, property, trademark, and investment connected to my life's work had already been transferred into an irrevocable family preservation trust months earlier. Control would never pass automatically to spouses through marriage. The second envelope contained a trespassing complaint, supported by high-definition surveillance footage. The third envelope informed him that every conversation regarding attempts to pressure me into changing my estate had been documented by my legal team. His hands started shaking. Emily arrived 20 minutes later after receiving a phone call from Daniel. She expected to see me apologizing. Instead, she watched police officers reviewing security footage while her husband struggled to explain why he arrived with cutting tools. She looked at him, then she looked at me. Finally she whispered, Dad. What is happening? I took her inside the warehouse for the very first time. As the lights turned on, she froze. Shelves stretched across the enormous building, filled with carefully preserved boxes, paintings, family albums, handwritten letters, and it's this. Never confuse charm with character, because the people chasing your wealth usually reveal themselves long before they ever touch your money.